Love, light, peace, and abundance, y'all. It is I, Queen Essence, and I am back with another episode of Poetry Unraveled. If you are new here, welcome, get comfortable. I hope you stay for the duration of today's transmission. If you are returning, thank you for hanging out and coming back to receive today's transmission. I've already cleared the space and opened myself up to be the channel. I feel like there's a lot that wants to come through today. One idea is to highlight that tonight, Thursday night, the 13th of March, is the full moon, and it is a I said new moon. I meant full moon. And I think I seen somewhere where it said it was a blood full moon. However, regardless of those titles, it is a full moon. And generally, the full moons are a completion of a cycle from the new moon prior. So the new moon so let me backtrack a little bit. This is the full moon in Virgo. And depending on which astrologer or rhythm of astrology you follow, the full moon is the completion of the new moon in two ways. The new moon that was prior, because we set intentions, we had planted seeds, we had ideas that we may have been working on during the new moon, and then during the full moon, we get to see some type of maturation from those ideas. Also, there's a new moon in Virgo. I didn't look it up before now, didn't know I was going to need to. However, the new moon in Virgo completes its cycle in the full moon of Virgo. So whatever you were working on, whatever was happening in your life during that time, you should be experiencing some physical evidence of what was taking place in your life at that time. So I would encourage you, because it's coming up, Spirit is having me share, I would encourage you to Google when was the new moon in Virgo, and once you get that date, reflect back on what was happening in your life during that time. It's a good practice to, like, if you can't remember, because I'm somebody that doesn't always remember everything that was going on. So I check my text messages, see, kind of who was I texting and what was going on in that realm of my life. I also check my notepads, because I write a lot of notes to see what was going on. I do a lot of recordings, so I check the dates of my recordings to see what messages were coming through at that time. And then sometimes you could just sit and remember what you were experiencing, what you were processing, what you were growing through during that time. And you should be able to make a connection to this period of time right here. And this full moon is a very potent full moon. I didn't study all the particulars why, astrologically, however, energetically, I feel it. Oh, I feel it. I feel it. It's a lot of energy that is available to us. Oh man, I can feel the energy now. It's a lot of energy that's available to us, and it is an opportunity to purge and release and gain a higher perspective of things from our past, things that we, as I mentioned, that we've grown through, that we've expanded past. I realized today, it is something that I've known already. However, I realized between yesterday and today that it's very powerful, the process of growth and evolution. And most people, when they speak about it, they speak about it in a linear sense. Just ground my energy real quick. Growth and evolution is normally spoken about in a linear sense, like one step to the next step. However, energetically and spiritually, growth doesn't take place that way. Growth takes place in a spiral, right? And it's a spiraling up, right? We go upward. And the reason why we go upward is because we ascend, we elevate in our understanding, we ascend to higher levels, right? the way that I understood certain things that I had grown through and that I had made it past, um, it has evolved in layers of evolution, right? And I found myself with the influence and the support of this full moon energy, that I can see things that I've experienced from a higher perspective, right? And the thing about growth, right, is that even though you may have grown past or grown beyond certain events or experiences in your life, it doesn't erase the memories of what took place, right? And sometimes those memories are attached to feelings. And willfully, we get to a point where we gain balance with those feelings, meaning that we can speak about something and it doesn't bring us to tears in a way that it once did when it first happened. Or we don't experience the same anger or dismay that we did when we first experienced it. However, when we do reach the point of seeing things from a higher level, greater perspective, a different vantage point, we acknowledge things that we hadn't been aware of prior, right? And that new reality comes with its own experience, right? You have your own feelings or thoughts, these new feelings and thoughts about what you now see and how you can process it from a higher perspective that you didn't see before. And sometimes you have fractions of it, and when you get to a point where you're able to put those fractions together to see a clearer picture. So I was having that experience where I was viewing experiences, specific experiences, from a higher vantage point. And because I was having emotional responses to it, I was feeling less than. Like I felt like all of the work that I had done prior, I wasn't successful if this is still coming up. Because sometimes when we have these experiences, it's easy to assume and jump into an old rhythm of thought that there hasn't been any growth, there hasn't been any progress. Because if I had let it go, if I had grown past it, if I had mastered it, why would this be coming up right now? And my spirit team had to remind me that growth is not linear, right? And because it's not linear, it does not mean that everything that I did prior did not count and it was not successful, because it did. Everything that I did prior got me to where I am right now. So everything that you've done up until this point has gotten you to this point. However, there is possibly some residue, right? There's something in the corners, or just that last, layer that you're ready to now see to release the completion of that cycle, right? Or that experience. And it is best for us to give ourselves grace, right? For the things that had already taken place, because we were in a space where we did what needed to be done and we were learning what needed to be learned, right? So, it is disadvantageous for us to look back at past experiences and have shame or embarrassment, or feel foolish because of the things that we allowed ourselves to go through or that we experienced. Because the fact of the matter is that that's exactly what we needed to get us to where we are now. And without those experiences, we cannot prove that we would have made it to this destination, right? So giving ourselves grace and compassion in the moment to have the human experience, right? I've also learned on my journey that there is a clear distinction between what you know spiritually and what you understand humanly, right? And there's a lag between the two, right? Because it takes time for things to translate and transcend from the spiritual into the physical. And then we have to transmute things from the physical into the spiritual, and it's a process, right? And it takes time. And that's why patience is important. We have to be patient with ourselves and patient with growth, just like we do children. We don't rush children to walk. We don't rush them to crawl. We don't rush them to eat. We don't rush them to speak, even though we may be excited with anticipation for when they do. You know, if a baby's not showing signs of standing up, you don't, you know, grab them by their arm and just start dragging them. Like, you don't just start dragging them to make them walk. You allow for them to show you the signs that they're ready to walk. So that same patience we have to give to ourselves, because as whatever physical age we are still evolving into our remembrance of who we are. So there's a process of being a baby spiritually far beyond the physical years on this planet. So you could be in your 30s and your 40s and even 50s and still be a baby spiritually, right? Because the things that you have to do physically to sustain your body for growth is different to sustain your energetic body, your spiritual body, and spiritual awareness for growth. So I realized or remembered that as a result of my spirit team speaking with me, because I was being kind of hard on myself, and I was allowing myself to explore thoughts that brought me to a point of absolution. And that's another thing too. Sometimes we have thoughts and we automatically cut the thoughts off because we identify them as being low vibrational or going into the past or being stuck in the past. But in reality, there's a version of us that wants to be heard. There's a version of us that still needs to be healed, that still needs to be freed from that experience, from that moment of growth. So it's important that when you have these thoughts, you allow them to come to the surface, right? And have a level of curiosity about what it is showing you, right? Oftentimes you'll find that there is a version of you from the past that needs to be integrated with the current version of you, right? Because once you grow through the experiences, you're no longer the person that you used to be. A mature spiritual version of yourself, because you learn from the experiences from the past. And the version through it needs to be acknowledged and integrated. And what I mean by that is acknowledging what she or he experienced, what he or she endured during that time. And instead of having frustration or irritation or embarrassment or disappointment in yourself for the things that you were going through, or you either allowed or permitted, have pride, right? Be proud of yourself that you made it through those things, and be grateful for the version of you that was strong enough, right? And aware enough and consistent enough to do what it took to get through them, whether it be putting one foot in front of the other, whether it be crying out the tears, whether it be surrendering. Give yourself the love, that version of yourself, the love that he or she deserves. And that is the process of integrating, right? You consciously acknowledge, right? For example, for me, let me make it tangible, right? For me, I realized that there was a part of me that was loving and giving and surrendering to people who did not deserve that. And as a result of me doing that, they treated me poorly, right? And even though there was a version of me that was not in harmony with that and was unwilling to accept that type of treatment, there was a part of me that understood that this was part of my growth, and this was something that I needed to go through. So I'll say my higher self understood that this was part of the process. This was part of the path of my remembrance. However, the human part of me still experienced certain things during that time, right? And the current me had to reflect on her, right? And remember the things that she endured and the things that she experienced, and how loving and how giving and how free she was. And pay homage to the fact that she never deviated from what resonated in her heart, regardless of what people did to her. No matter how people treated her, she still loved unconditionally. And my spirit team helped me to realize that I am love. So to be upset with myself for being who I am to people who didn't deserve it is unbeneficial, because it's like me telling my old self, you shouldn't have been who you are. You know what I'm saying? And that, what sense does that make, right? Like, that's not fair. Nor is it beneficial. So in me recognizing that, it put me in a position to where I could then accept things for what they were, right? And the fact of the matter is that I was engaging with people who didn't understand the value of my presence. They didn't understand the value of my energy, and they didn't understand the power of my love. And they were not capable of holding me, of holding space for me, of reciprocating what I was given. And that has nothing to do with me, right? That has everything to do with them. However, one of the keys that I received is discernment. So I used to be this very free spirit, right? Like, I used to be this free spirit that really believed and lived by the thought that people don't have to earn my love, right? I felt like because the Most High gives us love freely every day, who am I to withhold my love? Because Source doesn't withhold Source's love. So I move about life like that, right? Like this free butterfly, just flying aimlessly, sprinkling love everywhere I went, right? And I'm also a healer by divine design from my nature, right? So I would see different people that needed a couple extra sprinkles of love, right? They needed it to help sustain them, right? To remind them of who they are, to remind them of the divine love that's available to us all. However, I didn't consider in me doing that some of those same people did not know how to love. They hadn't received love. They didn't know how to process love. They didn't know how to reciprocate love. So I was hurt in the process of some of these experiences. And another perspective or another lane of this experience is me giving myself to people who didn't have purity in their heart, meaning that they saw the freedom that I expressed, the giving nature that I had, the loving nature that I had, the willing to surrender to the idea of what we were creating and building together, as an opportunity to get over, right? For them to benefit personally. So I had to look at this from a higher perspective, right? This is what this full moon has been providing the arena for, right? For me to be able to see these things from a higher perspective, to consciously be able to identify things for what they were, and to pay homage and honor the version of me that went through it. And there was this feeling that was coming up that I felt silly, right? For having love so freely, for being this free, aimless butterfly and just sprinkling love and spirituality and divinity all over the place, to people who weren't worthy or ready to receive. And my spirit team reminded me that I wasn't silly. Again, I was being who I am. And the lesson that I learned is discernment, right? I can be free to be who I am because I'm going to be me regardless, right? However, I have to have discernment on who's capable to hold what, right? You know, it's very possible that I gave too much. You know, I sprinkled too much love. It was the current of energy was too strong for individuals to hold, to house, to experience. And I needed to learn to turn the dial down, turn it back, or to, and to be more selective with who I channel that energy to. And that was the completion of that cycle, the completion of that idea with this full moon. And it's important for us to view our growth as a spiral and not linear, so that we can hold space for the different things that come up. When we have different thoughts that surface, it's important for us to explore them with curiosity as to, what is this showing me? You know, what is in this for me right now? And hold space for that. And I find that talking things out loud helps me quite a bit, because there's something about hearing myself say what I'm thinking that assists me in the process of evaluating, digesting, and being able to see it clearly, what's actually taking place. So there's a such thing as mirror work, where you look into the mirror at yourself and you have a dialogue with yourself. And what you're really doing is you're speaking to your higher self, and you're also speaking to your subconscious. So you're reprogramming your subconscious, and you're accessing your higher awareness, your higher consciousness, which is also known as your higher self, to process, to receive, to clear out whatever it is that's surfacing at that time. And if you haven't done that before, I would encourage you to do that. Even if you do something as simple as say an affirmation to yourself. Like, there's a Mary J. Blige song, Good Morning Beautiful, I think it's called. I might be saying it wrong. And if I am, if you could just leave it in the comment section for me to help me remember. And I just seen 2224 on a timer, 222. That might be significant for someone. Or you can, if you're not familiar with angel numbers, look up what the meaning of that angel number is, 222 and 2224 together. And listen to that song and sing that song to yourself in the mirror. That is you doing mirror work, and you're reprogramming your subconscious, and you're tapping into your higher consciousness that knows how beautiful you are, right? That knows the beautiful beauty of your spirit, of your soul, of your heart. And it's reprogramming your subconscious to replace the old programming of not feeling enough, of not feeling beautiful, of not feeling attractive, of not feeling comfortable in your skin, you know? So if that resonates with you, I would definitely encourage you to do that. This is a time for us to really be and see and experience the greater version of ourselves. If we would take the time to love ourselves, I know there's this, you know, it is funny how things trend, right? It's a hot word or a hot topic of self-love and self-care, right? And people do a lot of physical things, like massages and pedicures and manicures and, you know, trips and things of that nature. And all of that is definitely valuable. However, there's an aspect of our spiritual self that requires love and care as well. And holding space, right, to experience the human experience is important. There are things that happen that hurt our feelings. There are things that happen that in the moment we feel a level of disappointment. And it's important to honor that and to allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling in the moment without guilt, right? Without guilt, without shame, without embarrassment, without gaslighting ourselves. We can gaslight ourselves out of the genuine experience that we're having. Now, I don't encourage anyone to stay there. right? Like once you have the moment and you have the disappointment and you feel it, then you transition to, okay, why is this happening? What is this showing me? Obviously, if there's disappointment, that means something didn't take place the way that you had intended. So you open yourself up for the higher, the greater awareness, right? The spiral up of what is available in the moment. What is this showing me? What is being strengthened? And, take the opportunity to accept that rejection is really the most high's protection. You know what I'm saying? Rejection is a form of protection. And it's also divine redirection, right? Rejection is either protection or redirection. Either way, it's a positive experience that's taking place that causes us to be in alignment with the divine path that has been laid out for us. Because remember, all of this is about remembering who we are and what we came here to do. So there's different experiences that have already been slated in principle for us to experience. Now, the physical expression of that, we do have some say so because of the decisions that we make for us to learn whatever the spiritual lesson is, or for us to have different experiences to bring different things to the surface that stem from past lives that need to be awakened in our conscious awareness for us to remember who we are. And all of this is a process. It's not something that you just, jump right into overnight. It is step by step, going up the ladder, not moving forward on a linear path. However, once you start, it is a rewarding process that you continue to pursue. And I know for me, I had to learn the balance of the human experience and the spiritual experience because I'm very dedicated to my spiritual growth. So here I am offering some of the things that I'm learning and have learned to assist you and supporting you on your journey as well. There is a balance between spirituality and being human and being in this physical reality that serves us on our spiritual journey. We cannot ignore the physical, which means we can't ignore our feelings. When something hurts our heart, it is safe to speak up. It is important to speak up and communicate that. Be intelligent and be wise. However, nevertheless, communicate it. And even if you are not at the place where you can be the most intelligent or the most wise, it's more important that you get it out to honor your heart and what's being experienced in the moment. So willfully, this transmission has received you and held you so that you can elevate and grow. It is my will that sharing my personal experiences has helped you to be able to see yourself. I speak about me, and it's not because I want to, it's because Source is guiding me to do so. Because if it were up to me, I would just speak principles all day. However, I know it's important for me to share what I've gone through as an example that you can get through it too. I'm really no different from you. I've gone through a myriad of things that, as they say, I don't look like what I've been through. However, I trust that the transmission is complete. And if you have been here at Poetry Unraveled, you know that it is time for a poem. And I'm going to share this poem, and then that'll be the completion of today's transmission. This poem is called Blackman, My Reflection. Here we stand, hand to hand, skin to skin. You lead me through doors where our dreams begin. No mountain too high, no valley too low. We transmute pain, let our legacy grow. Through my presence, love awakens anew. A sacred spark ignites the truth in you. Feel this truth, even if it's new. Love surrounds you, pure, abundant, and true. Let it pierce the barriers that keep you bound. Feel the weight, release as your wings are found. Soar beyond the treetops, free to dream. No longer a prisoner of what might seem. Are you ready? Let's leap into the skies. With trust as our tether, we'll always rise. Your gifts and mine, a divine alchemy, spreading love's radiance effortlessly. Not couple goals for the world to see, but a testament to what love can be. Chemistry, connection, a steady flow. Two souls in harmony, with love we glow. You and I, a balanced whole, the yin to your yang, fulfilling our roles. Divine goddess, divine masculine, side by side, unveiling our power, no need to hide. Together, we'll imprint love on this earth, creating a legacy of infinite worth. Bound by our purpose, forever we rise, a love that transcends all space and time. Poem. Until the next time, fam. Love, light, and peace.